Good afternoon everybody and welcome to Safari TV here from Juma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. It's a beautiful afternoon, it's quite hot and I think some of the animals are probably still somewhere in the shade in the bush. We have driven up a little bit up towards the fire break on Gallego shortcut. I thought we'd just stop off at the russet bush willow to show you the seeds and the seed pod of the russet bush willow you can see in front of me here. And the seed pod actually has the 4 wings, and you can make a very nice tea with this, one that I quite enjoy. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Tara. I'm going to be your guide this afternoon, and joining me on the Gunda on the camera is Sebastian. And in final control we have Patrick, along with Lucy, who is our new team member. Hopefully you've read the blog about him as well. It tells you a bit about his background. So hopefully with the 4 of us you're going to enjoy a wonderful drive this afternoon. Keep your fingers crossed that we see some wonderful sights. So without further ado, let's jump on board and see what we can go and find. Now if anybody would like to ask any questions as we're driving around, and please don't hesitate to send them through. Send them through to finalcontrol@safari.tv, and there Patrick and Lucy will be able to send them through via the radio, so as we're driving around we can answer them live. So what you actually see is in real time, it's what we see. The reason why I've gone a little bit up towards Gallego shortcut, up towards the fire break, saw some tracks around here, but also the wild dogs were here this morning. I believe Mark had them for about an hour or so up on the fire break where they were left by Patrick last night. Now, if you remember yesterday, we followed the pair in the morning into this block here. Remember, I couldn't find any tracks that had crossed over, and it looks like they may have met up with the pack inside, and either the pack were already there or they came in later, because I say we didn't really see any tracks on the northern side, and the pack is from up in the north towards the Magnoletti area. They can cover huge distances, and when they're not denning they can change the areas. And what was quite unusual, and say what was throwing me a little bit, was it looked like the pair were marking their territory. But as I say, the wild dogs only really mark territory very close to their den site. That's why it was throwing me off quite a lot. But I did do a little bit more reading, and apparently it could also have been, the female could have been an estrus. Apparently when she urinates, the male also goes to urinate in the same spot. So that could have been what that was about as well, but I see them defecating in the same area. Also tended to suggest that they could have been the alpha pair. The alpha pair are the ones that usually defecate to mark the territory as well as urinate. Just looking for any signs of the tracks here. Which part of the fire break did you guys leave them on, Sebastian? Was it back that way?
Yeah, it was that way.
Yeah. Further that way.
Yeah.
Turn around and have a look.
It was just before the name of the dam where we can go. Out of our property where we do signal.
Oh, right, the way on the western side there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where they went.
There's a lot of dog tracks actually going back this way again. Okay. And I haven't had a chance to put up the dog track. I took a picture of one yesterday morning. I will try and get that up on Facebook as soon as possible. So we just had hands full the last couple of days doing some filming for the new title in 3D. So we all had quite a lot of fun doing that yesterday. There's a lot of their tracks here. So there's actually a pup, one of the pups with them, but it just looked a little bit like a cheetah track then. Just having to look really carefully. And just remember to tell the difference between the cheetah and the wild dog. Remember, the wild dog, being a true dog, will have 2 lobes in the back pad, whereas the cheetah will have 3 lobes. But both will register claws, so both will have either elongated looking toes or clear claw marks just at the top of the toes. So generally they will move around for a couple of hours in the morning, later on in the afternoon when the temperatures are a lot cooler. So if they were here this morning, they may have come back to rest around here. I think, didn't you say that most of the adults did run off into the north, or did the whole pack run off?
Yeah.
The whole pack?
The whole pack.
The whole pack. So they may have crossed over into the north, and they may have gone back to where they were. Passing Aubrey's Road now, so it probably would have been around here then. Yeah, I can see the tyre tracks going off here. I also want to have a look around Gowrie Dam. The baboons have been calling at the back of camp. I do wonder if there's a leopard at the back there. Mark also found last night, went out and took Mike and Laura out to the dogs to have a look at them. And on his way back, bumped into them again. And they ran up to a termite mound apparently, and started sniffing around the entrance to a hole, and he actually did see a hyena there. I think Mark did actually go back this morning and found a female with 2 pups, and it's probably the same female. Okay. Yeah. I think we've come to the edge of where you guys are going to be with us. And there's no more sign of the dogs. There's no fresh tracks or anything this side. So this is where I left them this morning. I was going to keep my ear to the ground, see if they do pop up somewhere else. So it does look like they may have been out looking for or scouting the area for food. Remember, they did go past quite a number of animals, and when I was talking to Mark later on, he said that they have been known to go out and scout the area, and that's obviously what they were doing. Funnily enough, with there being a lot of game, they still went into the north, so maybe there was a lot more game there than, and the hunting conditions were a lot more better than down here. I don't know. They do like this sort of habitat apparently. Quite interesting. Hi Robin. Robin from the UK. Great to hear from you. I'm wanting to know how long it will be before the hyenas will leave the den. Well, guesstimating, I say that hyena den that we went to, we heard the hyenas yelp, and with her being so protective, it made me wonder if she wasn't, or if they weren't just born or newly born, being sort of just a couple of days old. And the fact that she moved probably about 3 or 4 days later could mean that she either felt there was a lot of activity around the den, or that it was time for them to move on. Because they say, I don't know if it is a communal den. I think Mark said there was one other female there, but it's difficult to say if it's the communal den or not. I'm still convinced that there's still a den being used up by Buffelshoek Dam. So I could be wrong. So they could be somewhere around 3 weeks old now, something like that. Maybe, I'm just trying to remember when we actually found it. It was probably about 3 weeks ago, right? 2 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah. Something like that. So they should be big enough to come out of the den. I think he did say they were out of the den, and I would like to make my way that side a little bit later on when it gets a little bit cooler. Maybe make a turn now to see if there is any activity. But as I say, when they get to about 2 months old, and they'll start to get their spots. But they won't really go out and forage until they're about 5 or 6 months old, and they won't really go out and forage on their own until maybe about 8 or 9 months old. They'll be sort of accompanied by adults around the 5-month-old mark, scavengers, and hunting, as I say, will be a little bit later, so that they can actually understand when not to start calling out and when not to move, and important things like that. Hi Ruth, welcome on board this afternoon. I'm wanting to know, do wild dogs migrate, and how do they find their way back to the den? And they've got a very, very keen sense of smell and very good eyesight as well. But while they have pups in the den, they won't go too far from the den site. So once the pups are old enough to leave the den, then the whole pack will move around, and they won't have one particular spot that they stay in. But they are seasonal breeders to a certain degree, so they can potentially have pups once a year. Buffalo, single buffalo here on the left. Thought we were going to have a view of him through here. But as it turns out, there's a tree blocking every possible view. You're running off, Mr. Buffalo. sure about it. I think you maybe just get a quick shot of him as he moves off into the bush. I say he's not too keen about it, so I'm not going to try and follow him. Looks like he's trying to get the scent of something. The wind's actually blowing from us to him, so it could be our scent that he's picking up. As we move, you can just about see him. It's amazing you can get such a difference in character. You get some buffalo that couldn't care less about you being there, and some that apparently want to hide. So he's hiding behind the smallest of trees. But I do want to know what he's looking at there. There's something that's catching his attention, apart from us. But migratory-wise, Ruth, they have a huge home range. I mean, you can talk up to 25,000 hectares, maybe even more. Depends on, obviously, how many dogs are in the area. The prey, the amount of prey available, the den sites available. They tend to go for abandoned aardvark burrows. But, as I say, they may be migratory in that they could follow migratory herds, but they have also been known to stay put in one area as migratory herds have moved away, and unfortunately that did spell the demise for the pack. And I think that's one of the things about the wild dogs. There's been a lot of research done on them because they are such an intricate species. There's so much information that is coming out about on the research that's being done. And as I say, when I learnt about wild dogs, I understood them to share the feeding of pups a lot more than apparently what they do. And apparently it's coming out now as well that the females are the ones to leave the natal pack. So the females will disperse, leaving the males, and it's weighted, I think the ratio is somewhere 3 to 1, so 3 males to 1 female in packs. So it's quite heavily weighted to the male side, and also when they give birth to pups as well. And apparently the reason for this is to disperse the genes, and they've got one of the most diverse gene pools of a lot of the species, and they share this characteristic, funnily enough, with chimpanzees and gorillas, where apparently the females also migrate from their natal groups, and they will then join up with a group of males. So if the pack gets too big and there's not enough food to support them, then the males may break away, and that's when they can join up with breakaway females. But when a female, or alpha male and female, when they do mate, and they will produce pups, sometimes there are other females that can produce pups, and sometimes there's quite a lot of competition between the females, and sometimes there may be even siblicide, where the youngsters are killed. Let's say in some groups they'll actually allosuckle, which is sharing the food with the pups. So females will allosuckle other pups. So it's so highly varied. As I say, that's why there's so much research going on about them. I just wanted to have a quick look down here, because say that buffalo is looking down here. I won't be able to go and have a look at the hyena den just yet. I'll have to wait until just after 4 o'clock, so we'll have to go past the lodge to do that. And if anybody is joining us that has never been on safari before, then we do have certain rules to stick to, no matter where we are, in which reserve. And it's just so that guests can get a full experience of being isolated in the bush. So if there's guests in the camp, then all the lodges respect that fact and they stay away from them during the times that guests are going to be in the lodges. But during game drive time, that's when you get the game drive vehicles driving past the lodges. So we just have to respect that and wait until 4 o'clock to try and head down towards the hyena den. There were some elephant tracks also going up into the north. I did lose exactly where we went. Now I'm going to try and head towards Buckleshook Dam. See if that herd of elephants is maybe moving around that side. So there's been a herd the last week that's been around there. At some stage, it'd be nice to catch up with the Gowrie gang, see if they are around. And I would also like to try and get Graham on for another fireside chat and find out what's been going on in their lives. It's been a while since I've had a chat with him. I'll have to do a bit of a catch up again. And a lot of hyena tracks, lots of hyena activity here. It's so great to actually start to see the new growth of trees and plants. And seeing the knobthorns starting to flower really nicely. See if we can find one this afternoon. And I think Mark also found the gardenias starting to flower. And they produce very large fruits, sort of this sort of size, they're quite green. So we should come back to this area, hopefully, in about 45 minutes time. And there was also a question I had the other day, and in all the excitement of finding the 2 wild dogs, well, having them find us actually, when we sat there with the Nyalas, and all of a sudden the Nyalas started running. We actually see some impala as well that started running. Turn around, there's a wild dog behind us. I actually forgot to answer it. I think it was from Daly, wanting to know how many mammary glands the dogs had. And it's 6 to 7 pairs. And obviously that will be able to feed the huge litter size. It can be anywhere between 2 and 20 pups at a time. And that's why they need so many adult dogs to actually help rear the young. So they actually do help bring food back to the pups, or they'll beg for it by licking the mouth. regurgitate food for them. And that goes on for old. And the slightly bad signal areas, so it should be back soon. And we should be going back into the signal area. Sorry about that, folks. Just a slight dip in the signal area. Just goes to show that we are live. We can't always control where the dips in the signal areas are going to be. It's, as I was saying, the begging for food will continue up until they really do reach adulthood. But even when if they're old, very old or injured, they will still beg for food. And as I was saying on drive the other morning, there's been research into the fact that they're so submissive rather than aggressive animal. And they'll take submission and they'll try and be the underdog rather than be the top dog. And obviously the benefit for this is to gain food. But the cubs up to about a year will be able to displace adults off a kill just by begging for food. But once they reach over a year old, that's when they have to start pulling their weight really, and they won't be able to displace the adults. They'll fall into the hierarchy. So if anybody is following us on the map, and we're just driving down Gowrie Cut Line. There were some elephant tracks, but they were still quite old. Smell that, Sebastian?
Yeah, it is, eh? Strange.
Okay, my nose, unfortunately I've got a bit of a cold, so my nose isn't that great. I could still smell something quite sweet. Did it smell like popcorn to you?
Not really, yeah.
Not popcorn. So I could just smell... For a brief moment, it smelled a bit like popcorn, which is leopard urine. I get this on camera, do you think? I've not noticed this exposed termite mound before, but it actually looks like ants have taken over, and this does actually happen. Remember, ants don't build a mound like this. This would have been built by the termites. And it looks like black mound termites, and they actually find areas where there's black soil, sometimes quite far underground, and they'll bring that soil up to the surface, and that's where they get the name from, the black mound termites. But you can see the holes, and let me just see how much you can actually see. How much can we zoom in, Sebastian?
Quite a lot.
Quite a lot. Let's see if we can zoom in and see if we can... I'm struggling to see this. There are some ants running around on the surface there. As I say, they've probably taken over the termite mound. What made me stop was actually there's a hole next to it, and it actually looked like part of the nest had been pulled out, and that's very characteristic of sometimes the aardvark. I've seen chunks like this being pulled out where they've taken it out of the ground. As I say, there's not really anything else around there. So that's why I just caught my eye, because I thought, well, maybe it's come from a little bit further into the bush, but it is part of a mound that's obviously below. You can actually, it's actually a proper mound rather than it being pulled out, but you can actually see all the networks, the holes where the termites would actually move in and out of, and that's how they can actually control the temperature of what's going on inside the mound. And these holes would either be open on a hot day or closed on a cold day to keep the temperature in. And if it's a hot day, you get some holes where the heat will evaporate out of the nest, and there'll be other holes to drag air in. And it goes right underground, right into the damp tunnels underneath the nest, and gets circulated back into the centre of the nest where the chambers are, where the queen is, where the workers are. And it keeps it at quite a comfortable temperature. As I say, the black mound termites, they have had the nickname given to them, Schwarzenegger ant. And it's obviously a bit misleading because they're not an ant at all. But if you find them in rocky areas, they actually have the capability of pushing rocks up with them building the nest. And these rocks can be huge. I mean, they could be the size of Gunda, sort of lengthwise. And you actually see this nest being able to push this rock up over many, many years of building. And that's why they got the nickname. But as I say, I think it was wrongly named an ant because it's not an ant at all. They're actually in order on their own. It's Isoptera for the termites, and the ants and bees and wasps are all in Hemiptera. And they're all capable of either stinging, or they have quite a nasty bite, or even squirt chemicals. And that's why the ants are actually closely related to the bees and the wasps, whereas the termites aren't able to do that. Now, if ever you find fungus growing termites, sometimes you can actually find where they grow fungus. And some species will eat the fungus that they produce, and some species will actually eat the liquid the fungus produces. There's many different species of termite, and not all of them attack wood. And these nests as well that you see, they are incredibly strong. It's like cement almost. And all it is, it's bits of soil or sand stuck together with their saliva. And obviously it gets baked then in the sun. That's what gives it a very hard exterior. We have some more elephant tracks. Young elephant tracks. A little bit fresher than the ones back there. So cutting off down here, down towards the lodge. So if they do come down to the dam, hopefully Patrick and Lucy will be able to let me know. They're quite small tracks. The adults must have been walking just off the side of the road. Couldn't get a youngster that side being on its own. And some more tracks coming back onto the road. Oh no, this time we've got rhino tracks. Gone through the dip. Could be our territorial bull that we keep seeing. Driving onto Central Drive into Giraffe Dip. I'm waiting to be able to smell the Terminalia sericea, otherwise known as the silver cluster leaf. It's not one of my favourite smells. I'm quite glad. I don't think it was the smell that I was smelling back on Gowrie Quicklime. So my nose is a little bit blocked today. Have you ever smelled it? No. It almost smells like sweaty feet. But it's a sweet, sweaty feet. Next to the road, believe me, it's not a nice smell. of where to go. So I haven't got any more. I'll have a quick check up towards Hook, I think. Hook down, and then we'll come back down towards Vulture's Nest.
What is happening? Hi, Ron. Perry speaking in final control. Sorry, we just lost the picture for now, and Sebastian is busy rebooting the equipment in the vehicle, and hopefully the picture should be back shortly. So just enjoy the cover tape for the time being.
everybody, welcome back. Sorry for the interruption there. Had to sort out a slight technical issue. Hopefully we won't be having any more blackouts. But we are still on Hyena Road, still making our way up towards the dam. See if there's anything around there. So it's still a little bit hot at the moment. So there may be animals using the water or drinking the water. So I'm going to head up that way. And there has been a lot of activity around there recently. And also Jan Video Dan has been there, and I think he was also seen this morning very, very briefly. But wasn't caught on camera. As I was saying, before I got interrupted, there is a little chick in the vulture's nest. I did see it yesterday morning, after we closed down. It's looking very strong at the moment. And remember, this time of year is the best for vultures to breed. So obviously animals are going to be struggling a lot more because there's the lack of water, lack of food, so the mortality rate is obviously going to increase. So it's a lot better for vultures to be breeding this season, even though it sounds extremely morbid. But obviously parents will be able to find a lot more food to feed the chick with. It looks like there's some elephant tracks on the road here, but again they look a little bit old because I'm not really seeing too much detail. I'm struggling to actually see them too well. There's some buffalo spoor here as well. And get the shrike here in the tree. It's been a while since I've actually seen a bird. Last couple of days. Did you manage to catch it on camera or not? Let's see if you guys can identify it.
Can I just check then that the reason why I can't zoom in straight away is because I have to set the convergence point for the shooting camera. So when we stop, it always takes me a while to set the convergence before zooming in. Because I had some mail this morning of people asking why do I take so long to zoom in.
Okay.
Maybe if you can just like pass on that message sometimes, so that people understand.
Okay. It seems we couldn't quite catch it. It flew off before we managed to catch it on camera. We're able to zoom in on this bird here. So it was the southern white-crowned shrike. This one here. And they tend to be in groups. So it's quite odd there was only one, but maybe the rest of the group flew off. And just to try and help you guys to understand, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to zoom in straight away because with the 3D camera we actually have to set the convergence points so that when we zoom in everything's going to be in focus and the right depth for the 3D feel. So it does take a little bit longer to zoom in than normal. I think a few people are asking about that. Or should I say normal than the old cameras? Because obviously the old cameras you don't really need to think about convergence points or anything. So it's just a little bit more technical. But we will get there. Hopefully that will help you to understand. It's not actually the guys delaying on purpose. It's just setting it right so we can get a nice view of it. And obviously this is nature, and there was also times with the old cameras we still wouldn't get the birds because they flew off too quickly. But that is working with nature and being live as well. You don't have a chance to have a second go at it. But that's why we do what we do. And just showing you the dogs on 3 drives, it just goes to show you really don't know what's going to happen. You'd have said to me yesterday you were going to see wild dogs, especially for 3 drives, and the whole 21. I really wouldn't have known what to say to you. And that is the beauty of it. We just don't know what's going to happen. We could have a herd of elephants around this. Okay, now this is a slightly bad signal area. Just a little bit lower than most of the areas, so we may lose you as we go a little bit further along the road, but it shouldn't be for too long. Hi Louise, welcome on board this afternoon. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And Louise just wanting to know how many eggs does a vulture lay in the incubation period. They generally lay 1 egg, and both parents will help to bring food back to the chick. That's why it'd be very difficult for them to really have more than 1 chick at a time, so they invest a lot of effort into that 1 chick. The incubation time, I'm actually not entirely sure. It's just on the tip of my memory. Maybe someone can look up the incubation periods for us for the vultures. Say, guesstimating and I'm thinking about 60 days. We've got a water buck here, I've got 2. Just I'm going through the next tree here. Again, standing in the smallest patch of shade. Is that alright there?
Yeah.
Flight station, return update. Okay, thank you. I think I will drop you.
Good afternoon, stations. Los Allen Drive, Lutu so far. We've got some camera shy animals again. It looks like we've actually got a few kudu mixed in as well. And there's actually 3 waterbuck I can see now. I'm just going to maybe move up a little bit more and see if we can get a better view of them. But there's some beautiful bulls. That he was going to stay put. Maybe see that waterbuck through there. See him. And the kudu just in front of us. Don't often see male waterbuck together. They're forming a bachelor herd. They all look quite old males. It'll be for protection against predators. Obviously with the increased number of predators in this area with the wild dog being around. Obviously the leopard and the lions also being in the area. And that's possibly why they're also mixed in with the kudu at the moment, or eyes and ears, to detect possible predators as well. Okay. So I didn't catch who that was from. Hi Philip, in Sasselberg. Hope you're doing well this afternoon. I'm wanting to know, how often do waterbuck drink? Well, as the name suggests, they are tied to water, and generally they'll use it to run away from predators.
Okay, I've got it, thank you.
And the wind's blowing in the wrong direction, really. Can you smell them at all, Sebastian? No. I think the wind's just blowing in the wrong direction, but generally, especially older bulls, you'll be able to smell them. They've got a very musty smell, and that's because their fur is actually waterproofed by a gland. They have an oil from that gland, and that just helps to waterproof the fur whenever they do run into the water. But generally, they will need to drink fairly often, maybe once a day. So you will find them close to water sources. But obviously there are some antelope which aren't tied to water, and they can go for a few days without water, and some antelopes will even find enough moisture in their food. Eland is one of those antelope which aren't tied to water. It's quite amazing. You've got a ton animal, 800 kilos to a ton, that doesn't need to drink every day, and they do get enough moisture from their food. Whereas buffalo, also the same sort of size, they need to drink once, if not twice a day. And we've got the kudu females. Usual small herd, about 5 or 6. Same with the waterbuck actually. They usually make small herds of about 5 or 6. A very graceful antelope. And watch how this female walks across the road. See where she places her feet. See, the front foot is, when she lifts it up, her back foot is going directly where her front foot went. And that's why they move so quietly through the bush. Compared to something like an impala, believe me, they are noisy. And yet, kudu are twice the size, sometimes 3 times bigger than the impala, and yet they don't make as much noise. And it's because of that adaptation of them walking what we call track on track. So if they break a twig, you can't break it in the same place twice. Can you guys guess what's happening up there in that tree? I just went to have a look, see if anyone can come back with what's been going on with it. What are your guesses? You can see the height compared to myself right there. See if there's any trackers and sign readers amongst you. I should try to see what tree it is as well. Because what I thought it was isn't what I think it is. If that makes any kind of sense whatsoever. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit too small to actually reach up there and grab a leaf. Almost looks like a velvet berry, but I'll have to check. See if I can confirm that one. Because what I first thought is it could be a velvet bush willow, but looking at the seed pods, they're actually not a combretum at all. But the leaves do look quite furry. So I'll have to check to see if that tree is around here. No one seems to be coming back with the answer at the moment, no guessing. So, have we got anything about the tree? Oh, nothing about the tree. Okay. So black vulture is around 31 days apparently. Turkey vulture, didn't quite catch what the turkey vulture was, but the turkey vulture I think was a little bit longer, so about 31 days. So half of what I was guesstimating at, I think. But thank you very much, Robin, for that information. I appreciate that one. So there you go. So about 31 days seems to be about the average. Nope, no more. Aha. Aha, thank you very much, Linda. I think you're incredibly spot on with that answer, and it does look to me like it is an elephant scratching post. If you have a look, if I go back over, unfortunately I'm not going to be able to talk while I'm over at the tree, but if you want to walk over, have a look at the height of where the mud is, and there isn't really much else going on around it. And I was checking to see how smooth it was, and part of the bark has been smoothed off, which does tend to suggest that it is the favourite scratching post from an elephant. Rhino, it wouldn't be as tall as that. There's no way a rhino could get up there, and there's nothing really else that would get that tall apart from a giraffe, but giraffe don't tend to roll in mud, whereas elephants do. So I'm just going to walk back up to the tree again so you can actually see the height of where that mud is. I can't even reach it. And speaking of elephants, let's go and see if there is any down by the dam. As I say, we'll go up towards Buffalo's Hook Dam, see if there's anything around there, and then head down towards Gowrie Dam. I definitely want to have a scratch around, see if there's anything there. And obviously see if we can go and have a look at the hyena den for anyone that may have missed it. Oh, we have a lot of rhino tracks here too. Lots of rhino tracks. I've decided that the rhinos here like to walk in circles. They like to confuse us all by walking in circles. But at least I know quite a big part of the 3 rhino who we were also tracking that morning that we managed to see. Actually, no, it wasn't that morning. It was the morning before. It was my first morning back, I think it was. And just after we closed down, we found the rhinos. And they'd actually turned down towards Yarna Road North.
Have you been down to the eating house? No, I've never been there. I just had to get it's not far from just a little outside. Okay. From the left side. I guess my friend that is coming with my pulling over. And then it's not blue that I'm not sure if I make it with
Johnny's asking about the hyena den. I'm just going to let him know that we're also going to try and make our way that side. But they like to chatter. Johnny, come in. Johnny, I'm going to try and make my way to the Mbuzi car as well. I haven't been there, but Sebastian has, so I'll let you know if I do see anything outside.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just let me know how to get down there and stuff like that. If I can get down there, it's not over. But, you know, it is on point. But if it is a problem, then maybe I'll do something else.
Copy that. I'm just checking out Buffalo's Hook Dam at the moment. I've got 3 Inyati here with the Mvubu, and then I'm going to make my way that side.
I'll be next up.
Oh, it looks like there's some little grebe. Yep. Used to be known as dab chicks. There's 2 of them.